So there's a real shortage of villa properties where there's full property management of ground maintenance, snow removal, the whole nine yards, within within the city. And so we've been working with some developers who are trying their best to build these things out quickly, and it's lagging behind the need.
Welcome to the KC Insider, the podcast that uncovers the heart and soul of Kansas City. Join us as we dive into the bustling world of local business, entrepreneurial innovation, and the vibrant culture that makes our city unique. In each episode, your host, John Johnson, sits down with Kansas City's top business leaders. Today, we're talking about the state of Kansas City's housing, and in John's Top 5, our guests share what they wouldn't miss when visiting KC.
Before we dive into the discussion, I always like to start off on a positive note. So Doug and Matt, please introduce yourselves and let us know what is something you are excited about or bring a smile to your face.
My name is Matt, like John said, and I'm excited to hopefully contribute a little bit to this discussion. I primarily actually grew up in North Dakota, and my senior year of high school relocated to the Lee Summit area of Kansas City. So by no means am native Kansas Cityan, but have spent some time here now and left for college and things like that, and studied construction management. Went to Boise, Idaho, and Salt Lake City, Utah to start my professional career, and then came back to the Kansas City area for a variety of reasons. And so have been here since 2019 and in earnest been pursuing a variety of professional goals and things. And so love Kansas City. What brings a smile to my face is I have little ones at home, and opening that front door every evening after coming home from work and seeing them, their enthusiasm and excitement to see me as compared to what generally throughout the day is dealing with subcontractors and others who aren't as excited to see me, it seems sometimes. So love seeing my kids, and that brings a smile on my face.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Me too.
Right on. Hey, I'm Doug May. I'm the owner of Home Association Solutions. We manage about 80 or 90 home associations throughout the metro and handle all their financial management, property management, all their communication needs. We essentially do all the services for not-for-profit HOAs. We manage a complaint department is what we do. But again, I've been in Kansas City for almost 30 years now with wife, 2 kids. A thing that brings a smile on my face is I'm headed to, Las Vegas for the weekend. So, we'll hopefully see a nice show at the Sphere and get a Chiefs win.
Doug, from a property management perspective, what trends are shaping your industry?
I manage home associations, so it's slightly different than pure property management, on commercial buildings or whatnot. But we do have a property management component within our industry. One challenge is that prices continue to increase for my home associations, which is obviously shared by every other industry presently. So we have to adjust our dues or assessments or things like that to make sure we adequately maintain the association's common assets and amenities. But everybody's feeling that same thing. Another trend is we're at least within my industry, there's a lot more villa properties that are being built lately. I think because of the aging population. And so there's a real shortage of villa properties where there's full property management of ground maintenance, snow removal, the whole nine yards, within the city. And so we've been working with some developers who are trying their best to build these things out quickly, and it's lagging behind the need within the city.
Yeah, I can definitely see pricing being an area of concern with not just you, but me as well. And I'm sure Matt's got the same thing on his books. But how do trends influence your approach in commercial construction, Matt?
We act as developer and general contractor on our projects, so we're thinking about it from all angles. We often hear about the affordability issues, the supply shortages of residential real estate or residential homes. And so, I think all of that contributes to a lot of what is our overall thesis and approach to what we do. Subcontractors just don't have the same skill and manpower available that I think probably existed 20 years ago. And as part of that, we have decided on some of our projects to go to a light industrial type project simply because there's a third of the subcontractor pool needed for that type of project, right? And so, manpower and the cost of that manpower and the quality of that manpower has dictated some of these decisions as to the overall product type that we pursue and develop and build. And so it's a continual juggling act as we decide what projects we're approaching and investing in. But manpower definitely is a consideration.
Matt, you're strictly using subs for all your project.
It's a good question. So we actually have built out a little bit of a self-perform component to our general contracting business simply because of manpower headaches. So depending on the scope of work, we will self-perform or subcontract out. So we're doing things like concrete footings, steel erection, odds and ends, specialty type scopes on projects. So the answer is yes, and it depends on what scope and whether or not we'll self-perform or contract out.
Now, Doug, are you using any like internal people to do projects on site, or is it all subs too?
No, well, recently, I mean, most of the time we subcontract everything. We're a property management company. In the last 12, 16 months, I've had to take on some general contracting like responsibilities to complete some amenity upgrade projects of my own within my home associations. We obviously have a general contractor signing off on things, but there's been kind of a lack of interest in assisting my HOA clients with, it's smaller projects. It's nothing like Matt's doing, but whether it's pool rehab projects or that type of thing, we've had to take on a greater role internally, and me personally, to accomplish some of this stuff. And I definitely share Matt's opinion on the difficulties in finding, quality contractors and have adequate labor to accomplish stuff. So we've taken on a little bigger role, but we pretty much do everything for our clients. So,
Matt, can you discuss how recent construction projects are impacting property values and leasing opportunities?
I'm not sure if this answers your question, but this is what comes to mind. What I sense is overall in the macro market is a desire to have flexibility in a variety of components. As an example, I think the millennial generation of which I'm a part appreciates maybe leasing a little longer than the previous generation that strived for home ownership, or from an office space component, they're willing to co-share, right? And so one trend that I've noticed, and originally was a thesis, but I think we've substantiated at this point, is that this flexibility, but also smaller floor plate spaces, whether it be office or living, industrial, whatever it might be, there's a strong demand for it. And I think historically or years ago, there as a developer, there might have been a push for large floor plate type for lease spaces, but we've been reducing, overall square footages, adding more demising walls, making things more affordable, and reducing lease lengths on like an industrial or light industrial type flex space, and has been really well received, and I think needed as we kind of transition into more and more e-commerce, more and more entrepreneurial approaches from the rising generation of professionals. So I think that's I don't know if that answers your question directly, but I think it's certainly a trend that is molding and helping us make decisions. So
I like the fact that, you're really looking into the trends and figuring out different ways to help the rising costs of, not just the subs, but, the owners and the leases of all these buildings that you're putting up. So that's great. Let's go ahead and go to like some recent or ongoing projects that that you're excited about around the Kansas City area that'll impact the community. Is that Matt, is that something you're looking at doing now? When you do a project in Kansas City, do you feel like there's an impact in that role?
yeah, most definitely. I mean, we continue to reiterate my last comment, to try and find creative ways that we can offer affordable, flexible products to tenants that need it, and so we've got a project just recently completed in the Blue Springs area that offers 34 or so, I'll say, individual 1,000 square foot spaces, but they're essentially 20 by 50, and some call them contractor garages, man caves, whatever they might be, right? But we recently completed that project, and the variety of tenant base is really interesting that we've ultimately received. We have I would call it a dressed up light industrial metal building. A podcaster, we have barbers, we have soft tissue type tenants, we have e-commerce contractors, but anyways, there's a hunger for this affordable but flexible use, and we're continuing to plan more projects in the Lease Summit area and other locations throughout the metro to help satisfy that need.
Doug, do you see that that's a great impact that he has, that you could see maybe you managing some of those areas in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in contact with a few existing structures like he's talking about, which are associations essentially of owner member people. So we have considered stepping into those waters, but that is kind of a cool new trend. In my business, I'm not a developer, I'm not building anything, I'm just managing what's there. But there are a couple different trends. Is a massive influx of apartment construction to fit the needs of people moving into the city, and a and a low inventory of homes to purchase, and storage space. The storage space units are going up all over the place too, which are thorns in the side of many of my clients that we have to deal with. But like Matt said, I mean, there's a need for this stuff. Not only need for storage, small storage units, but more hospitable structures where you can utilize, whether you're fixing up a boat or a car or doing a podcast or whatever. And that is kind of a cool trend that I'm seeing, and we're more than happy to work with those associations if they need help managing their common grounds and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed apartments like crazy going up in Kansas City, and just like you said there. What do you think's causing those trends in the apartments?
Well, we work with various municipalities regularly, in the metro area, especially Johnson County. And studies have been done for the last decade or so, which shows that the city of Overland Park, for example, is single family home dwelling heavy and apartment light. And so a lot of ground is being developed into new apartment complexes throughout the area, because I think there's just a need of, uh, it's an expanding population, and it takes a lot longer to build single family homes than it takes and develop those communities. And frankly, they're probably at a price point these days that aren't affordable to everybody. So the natural inclination would be to fill the gap with, new apartment complexes, which is fine. It's good for Overland Park in general, but because people work here and want to live here and whatnot. But it does cause some consternation to my HOA clients who don't want to live in a single family community surrounded by apartments, or they don't want their golf course to be dismantled into an apartment complex dwelling.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You went through that not too long ago. Yeah.
Yep. Still
Yep.
going through it in Deer
Yep.
Creek. Yeah.
Now, what about you? Why do you think the apartment influx is just crazy in Kansas City?
Yeah, I think for, like Doug said, affordability and flexibility are two criteria that are becoming more and more present in people's decision making. And I think one other reason is from a developer perspective, right? Unfortunately, the energy and I like to term it the return on headache of a single family home as a developer, right? Versus a apartment complex uh, are not equivalent, and there's some out. It's just it's from a developer perspective, it doesn't make sense sometimes to go heavy into the single family world, and so the municipality red tape. At Kansas City recently passing energy code updates. I mean, it takes months to get a single home permit approved by varying municipalities within the metro. And so, frankly, I think multifamily development has become a little easier when you consider the return on headache metric. And so, not only though are we need affordability and flexibility, but the Midwest, I appreciate Twitter or X, excuse me, and there's a good real estate sector on there. And I was reading I don't know what you call them anymore, a tweet the other day about how Midwest multifamily is kind of having its moment. It's 280 basis points outperforming any other market right now across the United States, and where there's just simply a supply demand issue, and the Midwest seems to be meeting it a little better than other parts of the country. So I think there's a lot to it, but what Doug said is I think right on.
Yeah, sure. For me, I didn't live in apartments very long when I was young, but quickly moved to single family. But none of my friends I remember owning a home till later in their life. And do you feel like most apartments in Kansas City are for the younger generation, or do you feel like they're like for long term?
Well, if you're asking me, I mean, I don't manage apartments. I'm not really sure, but I do know that back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, when we had the housing crisis, we had a massive influx of foreclosure properties within my associations that we had to process. And at that time, there was a demand from not only incoming younger people to get into apartments, but people who couldn't afford single family homes anymore, trying to find a more suitable, less expensive place to live. So I think it's a combination of things. And like I said earlier, I've got people. There's a growing community within my single family home units that are wanting to move to villa properties or independent living, centers, which have exploded in the city lately, and so you've got kind of a greening kind of effect in some of my neighborhoods. Um, but I mean, I just think generally the growing population within the metro area, was like Matt mentioned. I mean, the Midwest is an attractive area to live in. It's an affordable, uh, clean, nice place to live, especially the Kansas City metro. And I think you just got external demand for people moving here, whether they're young or old, and then you've got the internal, grind kind of from single family to villas to independent to assisted living centers, and that's all in play at all the time because people are just getting older and need different living situations.
Yeah, I think what I've seen, and we've done some residential projects. The younger generation or the young family, typically their route to home ownership, if at all, generally goes through some sort of apartment living, right? And it normally it's the second kid that kicks them out of that, um, and they kind of stay away from it until they're empty nesters. But we've seen this influx of retirees and older generation who will sell their homes, cash out their equity, and enjoy the maintenance-free lifestyle, like Doug has insinuated. And so it's a broad spectrum. A lot of the buildings in the Kansas City metro are single bed or double bedroom apartments. So it doesn't really provide for young families with multiple kids to be there, although it's possible. But yeah, kind of on those two ends of the profile there, that demographic definitely we see in the apartment living.
I see some apartments going up now, and the cost of renting those is almost a little higher than we talked about your adaptability to high costs. So, some apartments are even high cost for leasing nowadays, anyways. And I think that would be tough for a single income small family in the beginning, anyways. But yeah, the one thing that I would say here is, Doug, you manage a lot of HOAs. Do you see a lot of people moving out of HOAs or things like that into apartments or maintenance-free life now that, to me, like, the busyness of life just gets in everybody's way?
Well, I think there's a demand for home association, independent, and property management provided services. I see them as an attractive feature to purchasing a home. There's some safeguards in there for rules of the road and external modifications and those kinds of things to homes. So I think there's value there. I don't see a lot of people moving out of them. I see more. Well, I see less and less development without the association. Even in the commercial side, I mean, we manage a couple small commercial associations of a corner area in Olathe or in Leawood that has a number of buildings within it, with 4 or 5 different owners that need association, common grounds assistance and assistance with their roads and all that kind of stuff. But no, I don't really see an exodus out of home associations other than what I mentioned earlier is kind of the those who have empty nests or are getting older and don't want to deal with yards and clean their driveways off and that kind of stuff. Those guys are moving on to different facilities. We've got a heck of a re-greening going on within the metro as younger families move in, especially in areas that have grade schools and middle schools and stuff. In their subdivision or near their subdivision seem to be re-greening at gangbusters, right?
Yeah. One thing on the podcast I want to do is just, I bring on leaders in Kansas City, or ones I think are leaders, and appreciate you guys sharing your time. And I just want to go through top 5 questions that you think about Kansas City. And my first one is your go-to restaurant, Matt.
Well, my answer will probably be underwhelming because we're hauling kids wherever we're going. But right now our go-to is Costa Vida, baby, right in Lee Summit. So that's where we're at.
Awesome. What about you, Doug?
Well, I'm a huge barbecue fan, but I'm also a steakhouse guy. So I gotta look at my J's. I gotta look at J. Gilbert's or J. Alexander's down here at Oakland Park.
Yeah, those are good ones. Good ones. Okay, what about visiting KC? As someone asked, never been to KC before. What's one thing I should go visit before I leave?
Places of interest. I'd say you got to go down to World War I Memorial.
Okay.
Go check that kind of stuff out.
Yeah, that's an awesome place.
Yeah, I was gonna say that Union Station area is always a key iconic area, and then we like to take those that are visiting down to the River Market and the open air market down there is a fun vibe down there as well.
All right, we close here. Who you got for the Super Bowl?
Doug, you're going to be there, so you got to get us.
Who else? Come on. Look, I'm a lifelong Wisconsin guy, so I'm a Green Bay Packer fan. But I live in Kansas City, and if Mac's not winning, I'm rooting for the Chiefs. So I'm confident.
That's right. Chiefs.
Right.
I can't decide if it's big or by little, but as long as it's a win, I don't care.
I think we're going to come out and just pound them.
I think it's a 28-10 kind of scenario.
I'm right with you, Doug. 28-10, that sounds good. As we wrap up today, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our guests, Doug and Matt, for sharing their expertise and experience with us. It's been a fascinating journey to explore life cycle construction projects and the management of them after. Special thanks to Rue Landscape again for sponsoring KC Insider. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We look forward to bringing you more engaging discussions here in the next KC Insider. Until next time, stay positive and connected, Kansas City.